Hi, I'm Alan Nelson, and in this edition of KidLead, we're going to give you 6 of the common ways that parents inadvertently reduce the leadership abilities of their child or teen. We're going to help you learn these patterns so you can avoid them. Welcome to KidLead. My wife and I have had the opportunity of raising 3 sons, and now we're trying to influence our 2 granddaughters. And we know this for certain, there are no perfect parents. Sometimes we joke that the best time to write a book on parenting is before you have any kids. Yet over the last 10 to 15 years, my focus on young leader development has taught me a lot about identifying kids with high leadership aptitude and also helping adults not diminish their abilities. Inadvertently, sometimes we do that. So I'm going to give you 6 of these of the common ways, and I'm going to even put them in rhyme to help you learn them a little bit better. The first principle is start now to endow. What that means is you need to begin thinking of leadership development really early. Don't just wait till high school or college or their first job. Think in terms of very young, even as early as 2 and 3. Because that's when we begin to see leadership giftedness emerge in early socializing. So that little preschool boss moss may actually be a future CEO. I want you to think in terms of looking for aptitude and then getting them into opportunities early. We have actually an assessment that is below in the description that will allow you to take an assessment on a child ages 3 to 6 or an assessment on children 6 to 18. There are links there and it's free. So again, begin thinking of leadership early. Start now to endow. Number 2, think strong, not wrong. One of the common things we see in children gifted in leadership is strong will. Now, please don't misunderstand me. You can have a child who's strong-willed and not a leader. But often, leaders have a strong will. They're willing to stand up to opposition. They're willing to stand up for inequity or sometimes even to a person of authority or a bully if they feel that they're being unfair. Sometimes then we label these as troublemakers. Schools often do that, and sometimes parents do that as well. They confuse strong will with rebelliousness. And although we want to help them discipline this strong will, we also want to see that as a gift. It's a blessing because leaders have to take stands, and sometimes they have to go against the flow. If you recognize this, we encourage you to think of them as strong, not wrong. Number 3, pick rehearse, not reverse. What that means is we want to provide opportunities for children and especially teens to lead, to rehearse being a leader. When you put the brakes on a child who's leading, or a teen especially, that's pretty much putting them in reverse. We want to allow them the opportunities to take responsibility. One of my favorite books on this is Teen 2.0 by psychologist Dr. Robert Epstein. He points out that historically, rites of passage from childhood to adulthood have taken place typically between the ages of 12 and 15. The bar mitzvah, the bar mitzvah, these sorts of rites of passage initiate children into adulthood. Since we postponed that because of adolescence now, we've sort of put their development on hold. He tells us not to infantilize. Make sure that we don't treat them like infants because they're going to rebel. Ironically, it's not so much that they want freedom, is they want responsibility. In fact, there's a reference, a link to his book in the description below. So the point is that we want to help them move forward. We want them to rehearse being a leader early. And if we don't do that, well, sometimes we'll put their leadership development actually in reverse. Pick, rehearse, not reverse. Number 4 is think empower, not cower. What that means is that we want to be responsible parents, but sometimes we go too far and we remove the risk of being in charge. A part of growing up, a part of learning confidence is actually succeeding in a time of risk. Leaders need to be let in charge of things. If we try to be a helicopter parent and swoop in and save our child, actually we're doing them a disservice and we're creating a lack of confidence. I've actually even had college parents trying to intervene for their child because of a grade that I gave them. We want to help our kids be safe, but we also need to let them grow up. That means increasing the amount of risk, time, responsibility, even money, so that they can learn what it really means to be in charge. Think empower, not cower. Number 5, coach, don't poach. The word poach means to trespass or to take something that should have been someone else's. We as parents, out of a caring heart, sometimes poach on our kids' ability to make decisions. So what we want to do is coach them. We want to give them Socratic questions to engage their thinking and help them think strategically. That's really important developing young leaders. I remember one time our granddaughter was kind of stuck on this climbing apparatus and she was crying out to her dad, and our son went over and calmly said, "Juniper, I want you to figure out what are 3 ways that you could get down from here." And she thought of 3 ways and then she accomplished it. I was so proud of him. He coached her. He didn't poach on her ability or her desire to figure out something on her own. Now, when we are raising young leaders, we need to think in terms of not giving them answers, but rather challenging their thinking and helping them come up with answers themselves. We want to coach, not poach. And number 6, advocate, not abdicate. To advocate means to stand up for something, to support it. To abdicate means to surrender, to give up. You'll need to, as a parent, advocate for your young leader's development. Sometimes it may be talking to an educator or talking to another relative or talking to a neighbor or maybe even another parent. But to advocate the opportunities for them to develop their leadership so that you can see them grow and you can create some space around them to develop their leadership abilities. Sometimes we don't want to hurt people's feelings and sometimes we step back, and therefore our young leaders' development gets infringed by them. So you don't need to get mad, you don't need to get in their face, but sometimes you just need to educate. Again, in the description below this video, you'll see a link to several articles that are free. Many of them are published in educational magazines. This allows you to educate people about young leader development so that you can become an advocate of your young leader's development. Advocate, don't abdicate. Remember, there are no perfect parents, but we want to nix these 6 common ways that sometimes we unintentionally thwart our young leaders' abilities and development. You know, when you're a parent, especially a parent of young leaders, it's believing in them early. You know, it's almost like putting a medallion around them and say, "I see the potential in you." The Pygmalion effect says that people strive to become as they're treated. When you treat your young leaders as leaders already, they will rise to the occasion. We encourage you to participate more, to take advantage of these resources, and until we meet again, remember, if you want to change the world, focus on leaders. But if you want to change leaders, focus on them when they're young.